Welcome to Game Theorem, where we have serious discussions about absurd entertainment.
I see now that the circumstances of one's birth are irrelevant. It is what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are. Mewtwo, the genetic Pokémon.
That was a great quote.
I know, right? I know everyone uses it, but I just...
Oh, I'm Kira.
Oh yeah, I'm Kyle, by the way. It's just, I feel like Pokemon can really teach us some things. Well, sometimes, yeah, it can be a bit corny, but sometimes there's some deep stuff in there.
Yeah, but most of the time it's just corny.
I feel like the games are deeper than the anime, at least.
Somewhat, I suppose.
In fact, if you go off the Pokédex entries, they get really dark because they know that the kids won't read them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about Pokemon. Now, we're not going to go too much into analyzing what it is. I mean, I would love to be able to have an episode where we can do that. Maybe if we get time at the end. Mm-hmm. But we're going to be breaking down the history, the timeline of Pokemon, as we do in our deep dives.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to do everything in the Pokemon timeline up to the point of the beginning of the first game. This is going to be another one of those backstory episodes.
Yes, because there's too much.
Exactly. Yeah, we tried doing it, but we had to break it up somewhere. Not to mention that if we do this, then later when we do an in-game episode, we can talk about the timeline of the games and all that crap. Mm-hmm. Should we... spoiler warning, definitely.
Yes.
But really not much violence or anything. I mean, a little bit of cartoon violence, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Death is to a minimum.
Yes, it is.
Although I guess a warning for religion.
Oh. Yeah, I guess technically, yeah.
Praise Arceus.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, let's get into this, okay?
Okay. Now, most of this is probably going to be speculation because we don't have hard facts on a lot of...
No, not most of it. Actually, most of it's fact.
Okay, so most of it's fact and a little speculation.
Basically, the Pokemon franchise is really not good at making a narrative.
No, it is not.
They provide you with just a whole bunch of random facts. A lot of these are in the Pokédex entries, but sometimes they're just told you in the games themselves or via myths that you can uncover. Like, literally, there's myths that you can just read out of the Canalave library. Mm-hmm. But, so what we've done is we've done the best we can to try to string these facts together. And that, yes, that is speculation. Mm-hmm. But there's really no way to talk about Pokemon without some element of speculation.
Yeah, because they don't just give you a story and say, this is what happened.
Exactly. So that's what we have to do. Mm-hmm. So, take that with a grain of salt. You're bound to see other interpretations out there. But after our particular heavy research into this, and I should also mention, I've literally been a fan of Pokemon my entire life, almost, because it was the very first game I ever played. I have spent years of my life playing Pokemon, so I believe I am well researched in this, especially after constructing this timeline that we have that we're going to be reading off to you.
Yes. I got into Pokemon later on, so...
Sorry. But you're into it now, right?
Yes.
What was your first game?
I think Ruby or Sapphire.
Yeah, it's a good choice.
Or Emerald. Somewhere in that generation.
Mine was Gold.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I came in just a little bit late.
Yeah.
But I went back and played the first one. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so yeah, let's get into this. It's going to be somewhat speculation, but I really want to reiterate that I think it's accurate. Take that as you will. Mm-hmm. Okay. So do you want to?
No. The Pokemon series was actually a multiverse of an infinitely vast set of timelines or alternate universes. Some were very similar to each other, while some were very different. But the uniting thing about all the timelines is that they are inhabited by Pokemon, which led the majority of them to share the same history with alterations here and there.
Yeah, a big thing people make as a mistake is thinking that there's only like one or two timelines when really...
There's like so many.
Like, it's, Pokemon Red version, Blue version. There are literally two versions of the game, of the universe, of the story.
Yeah, and even later on when they have two versions of it's like there are two different versions of the story.
Yes. Now the the defining thing about the versions is that they are mostly the same. So we can still talk about these in this episode in a single timeline, but we have to put that as a corollary out there that some things do differ depending on which one you're in.
Yep, that's true.
So I've made a list of categories of different timelines, okay? This will help understand which things or which timelines or universes that we're going to be talking about today, okay?
All right.
So here, let's alternate. Let's go.
Okay.
So number one, the main series timelines. This is the baseline timeline of events. It includes green, red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, crystal, ruby, sapphire, emerald, fire red, leaf green, Colosseum, XD, diamond, pearl, platinum, heart gold, soul silver, black, white 2, white 2. As you can see, the multitude of the Pokemon series of games can be loosely defined within this series of timelines.
All right, and then the Mega Evolution timelines. Mega Evolution is created after the Kalos War. So this includes X and Y, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, Sun and Moon, and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
Then you have the number 3, the alternate main timelines, where the world is destroyed by a villain. It includes alternate versions of red, blue, yellow, ruby, sapphire, fire red, leaf green, platinum, black 2, and white 2.
Yes, and we only know those timelines exist because of the end of Ultra Sun and Moon.
Exactly, which is why we put spoilers up front.
Yes. All right, Ultra Space timelines. Number 4, alien worlds from across Ultra Space. Includes Ultra Megalopolis and infinite other places.
Number 5, other known realms. Unique places accessible by multiple timelines. This includes the Dream World, the Spirit World, and the higher dimensions.
All right, the main is number 6, the main anime timelines. Alternate events transpire in various narratives. This includes the Pokemon anime seasons 1 through 22 and beyond, origins and generations.
Number 7, you have the Mystery Dungeon timelines where humans are gone, leaving just Pokemon. This includes Red, Blue, Time, Darkness, Sky, Blazing Stormy, Light, Gates to Infinity, and Super Mystery Dungeon.
All right, and then the spin-off timelines. Number 8, alternate events transpire focused on other guys. This includes the manga, spin-offs, trading cards, music, and other extra content.
It's just a miscellaneous category that we put.
Yes.
Okay, so what follows is a chronology that focuses on the history within 1 through 3 above, which is the main series timelines, the Mega Evolution timelines, and the alternate main timelines, while touching on 4 through 6, the Ultra Space timelines, the other known realms, the main anime timelines, but not trying to address 7 through 8, the Mystery Dungeon ones or the spin-off ones.
Yes.
Even the anime one, we're only going to be touching it loosely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's everything that you need to know about how all the timelines work. Okay?
Uh-huh.
But now we can actually get into the timeline itself, like talk about what happened in the beginning of the Pokemon universe.
Yeah.
Universe is. So generally this is how it ends up going, no matter which one you're in.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
So are we going to switch off like we usually do, Kira?
Yeah, that sounds fine to me. Do you want to start or should I?
I'll start.
Okay.
Basically, one thing we need to consider is we've broken it down into different eras, okay? Mm-hmm. To try to help organize things a bit more. So the first era we have is the 0th era. Well, I guess that's not the first. It's the 0th era. Mm-hmm. Okay? In this era, only chaos existed in an otherwise empty void.
All right. Now we move on to the creation era. Out of a vortex, a single egg came into existence and hatched into Arceus, the first Pokemon.
Arceus created 17 or 18 elemental plates with which it distributed its power.
Why 17 or 18?
18 only in the Mega Evolution timelines, because that's where Fairy type is.
Oh, so Fairy type doesn't exist in those other timelines?
Not in the main series ones.
Wow, okay.
It does in the anime as well.
Okay. With these plates, Arceus created 28 varieties of new Pokemon out of matter. Arceus used over 1,000 of these unknown to create the universe.
Arceus touched down upon one planet in the universe, but everything was still incomplete.
In order for the universe to function, Arceus created 3 eggs that hatched into the creation trio, Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina, to govern time, space, and antimatter respectively, to complete the operations of the universe.
However, Giratina was destructive by its nature, so Arceus banished it to an alternate realm called the Distortion World.
After Dialga and Palkia ensured the stability of the universe, Arceus allotted realms in which they retreated to rest.
Arceus then created an egg from which hatched the three guardians, Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf, to govern knowledge, emotion, and willpower, respectively, to allow other life to truly live. Once they existed, they hid beneath the wet caves in the surrounding area, for they could kill any living thing in 5 days' time and wish to forever avoid that outcome.
Arceus placed the unknown in a higher dimension to maintain and keep the balance of the universe.
Arceus then combined the DNA of itself, the unknown, the creation trio, and the guardians into a single entity.
This entity of DNA would become known as Mew, and Arceus populated many worlds in the universe with many of them.
Arceus then vanished from the planet and the universe as its work was done. It would rest and watch from afar in its own realm.
All right.
I should also stop just to mention that if you're not familiar with what these Pokemon look like or anything, you might be a little lost. Just remember the names, and generally, like, you'll just kind of get like, oh, this is the Pokemon of knowledge, like we just said, like, and so forth. Just remember, Arceus is the big guy in charge.
Yes, he is.
Okay, next era.
Mythic era.
Yes, the Mythic era.
Do I go first?
Yes, it's your turn.
Okay. Billions of years ago, that planet would become known as simply the Pokemon world, and on it, hundreds of thousands of Mew roamed freely.
Through the early ages, Mew went through adaptive radiation, evolving into many different species to better suit their environments, and thus Mew would be known as the common ancestor of all Pokemon.
However, Mew reproduce rarely and by unknown means, beginning to decline in their numbers. This trait was inherited by the Pokémon that evolved from Mew as well.
Over time, different Mew evolved into Celebi, Jirachi, Manaphy, Shaman, Victini, Meloetta, Hoopa, and Marshadow. Several of these inherited powers from the building block creation Pokemon.
Celebi inherited powers of time travel, and they began to traverse time and travel into the far future.
Manaphy usually were unsuccessful in reproducing, instead birthing false copies in the form of Fione.
So how does Manaphy get a Manaphy egg?
Sometimes it's successful. By unknown means, just like Mew and all the other ones.
Well, we know that Manaphy has an egg, although...
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in the Pokemon universe, where do eggs come from? If they can barely understand how normal Pokemon reproduce, there's no way they know how Mew reproduce. Or the Mew derivatives.
Fair enough. Mew began to become increasingly rare as their numbers substantially dropped in favor of newly evolved Pokemon.
Okay. So now that's the Mythic era. Next is the Legend era.
All right.
Through the ages, these evolutions of Mew evolved further in many powerful, destructive beasts. These Pokemon would later be considered ancient, powerful, and legendary.
These powerful Pokemon...
You want me to do this one?
Oh, why? Oh, yeah, you know what? Go ahead.
Okay. These powerful Pokemon included the Eon duo, Latios and Latios, the Weather trio, Kyogre, Groudon, and Rayquaza, Cresselia and Darkrai, Heatran, Regigigas, the Swords of Justice, Cobalion, Terrakion, and Virizion, the Forces of Nature, Tornadus, Thundurus, and Landorus, the Great Dragon Pokemon, the Aura trio, Xerneas, Yveltal, and the Cells of Zygarde, Volcanion, the Guardian Deities, Tapu Koko, Tapu Lele, Tapu Bulu, and Tapu Fini, and Zeraora.
Who's Zeraora?
It's a new one.
Oh, okay. The world became a primal place as these powerful, beastly Pokemon destroyed, created, and remade the world as they saw fit.
Kyogre, Groudon, and Rayquaza were some of the most powerful, existing in huge primal forms. Rayquaza lived in the ozone layer of the atmosphere. Groudon began creating giant land masses and continents, while Kyogre began creating vast oceans and seas. Groudon and Kyogre were completely unaware of each other's existence.
Little do they know. Regigigas created massive ropes that it used to haul the continents through the oceans, and in doing so, Groudon and Kyogre were kept apart from one another. Why did he do this?
I don't know, peace.
Okay.
Eventually, some Pokemon evolved a new method of reproduction that produced eggs when two similar Pokemon became involved with each other. This allowed evolution to diversify and progress at an unprecedented pace, while also increasing the Pokemon's population.
In addition to reproducing more easily, many of these newly evolved Pokémon gain the ability to go through varying types of metamorphosis throughout their lives, although this process would be confusingly called evolution as well.
And it's very confusing.
Yeah.
They should have just called it metamorphosis, but I admit that's a very long word. Next, we have the Ancient Era.
All right.
Anorith was the earliest known example of these Pokemon, and these Anorith would turn into Armaldo later in life.
All right. 300 million years ago, many new species of Pokemon thrived, including some large reptilian and beastly ones.
Pokemon that would one day be called Carbink made their way deep underground and began pressurizing in the deep heat. One mutated and created a unique variant called Diancie.
Is there more than one Diancie?
Possibly. Unclear.
All right, 100 million years ago, by this time climate changed, causing a mass extinction event, and many species of Pokemon, such as Omastar, Omanite, Kabutops, Aerodactyl...
Kabutops.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Aerodactyl, Lileep, Cradily, Anorith, Armaldo, Cranidos, Rampardos, Shieldon, Bastiodon, Tortuga, Caracasta, Arcan, Archaeops, Tyrantrum, Amora,
Yeah.
and Aurorus went extinct.
Good job. You got most of them.
Thanks, that was not very good.
Even though many Pokemon went extinct, some of their evolutionary descendants survived. The descendants of Archeops became bird Pokemon, and the descendants of Caracasta became turtle Pokemon.
A few bird Pokemon later regressed and evolved into legendary Pokemon and reacquired the old method of reproduction. Those included Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres, Lugia, and Ho, who would be the last known legendary Pokemon to evolve naturally. Okay.
What?
So they went through this process and then went back. That makes zero sense as to how they exist.
That's actually not true. Evolution is complex. In the real world, there are many species that will actually reacquire old traits. Like toxins, for example, are things that have been evolved several different times throughout the evolutionary tree, even though the way you're thinking of it should have only happened once.
Okay.
As the Pokemon population rebounded, a new species of Pokemon evolved and became known as human. Next, we have the Human Era. This one is going to be where we show up.
Yeah. A few million years ago, humans evolved a new method of breeding that didn't involve eggs, and they therefore lost the ability to interbreed with Pokémon. They evolved to focus on their intellect in lieu of combat ability, which enabled them to become quite crafty and able to invent.
Humans settled in the region where Arceus had first landed long ago, and they named it Sinnoh.
Dialga and Palkia reawakened from their realms and clashed in Sinnoh. The humans witnessed Arceus quell them and sequester them back into their realms. The humans in Sinnoh began tirelessly revering these legendary and mythical Pokemon and incorporating them into their beliefs. Some humans began to spread elsewhere to other regions.
20,000 years ago, on another planet, a mysterious being evolved completely separately from the Mew on their planet, but in a completely different fashion. This alien Pokemon traveled through space and arrived on the Pokemon world.
We have no idea who this alien is.
Sort of. Keep reading.
Okay. An ancient civilization of humans witnessed the alien Pokemon's arrival and worshipped it as a god. They modeled clay statues in honor of it. The alien Pokemon blasted a mysterious ray at the civilization, bringing the clay statues to life.
So it's essentially the original Claydol.
Oh, I see.
Because these statues became known as Claydol. They were a new species of Pokemon that began their lives as Baltoy before becoming more Claydol. The alien Pokemon left during the Ray of Light and was never seen again. Upon
seeing this, Regigigas was finally tired and ceased towing the continents around, finalizing its layout of the continents. Some notable regions included Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh, and Ouray in Eastern Asia, Unova in North America, Kalos in Europe, and the Alola Archipelago.
Say it again. Archipelago.
archipelago.
Regigigas decided to utilize various materials to create Pokemon of its own. It took rocks from the ground to create Regirock. It took ice from the increasing cold to create Regice. It took some metallic debris that was left behind by the alien to create Registeel. Regigigas sent its creations out into the world to protect the work Regigigas had put into the world.
Some ice Pokemon evolved into Vanillite to survive harsh sunlight. They would turn into Vanillish and Vanillux later in life.
10,000 years ago, climates around the world cooled, bringing about an ice age. Humans and many Pokemon struggled to endure, but the Pokemon called Mamoswine and Vanillish thrived during this time, only to have their numbers reduced as the ice receded.
In Sinnoh, a human forged a sword and began a campaign where the human systematically killed Pokemon. A Darkrai visited the human and threatened that Pokemon would enact their vengeance upon the human if the violence didn't stop. The human promised to not harm another Pokemon, and Darkrai retreated into the void.
By this time, many ghost Pokemon existed after originating from the spirits of Pokemon, humans, and other mysterious sources.
A human child discarded its plush doll, which became possessed and became known as a new species, Banette. They forever looked for the child who discarded the doll.
A human child died in a forest, and its spirit possessed a tree stump and became known as a new species, Phantump.
A human woman died in an icy mountain, and her spirit possessed an icicle and became known as a new species, Frostlass. They reproduced and had young Snorunt, which usually would turn into Glalie, but occasionally they turned into more Frostlass. How does that work?
It turns into a Glalie at a certain level, but if it's female and comes in contact with a certain stone, it can become a Frostlass.
Oh, I see. Okay.
About 5,000 years ago, an ancient civilization arose in the region of Unova. Their civilization was guarded by the strange but loyal Sigilif Pokemon.
That's interesting. The humans in Unova constructed Golett out of clay, the first artificial Pokemon made by humans, which could turn into Golurk.
Eventually, Tornadus and Thundurus arrived in Unova and terrorizing it, bringing the civilization to its ruin.
The humans of the old civilization that lost their lives lived on as spirits and eventually became the Pokemon Yamask.
Eventually, Landorus managed to stop... Oh, I should have mentioned Yamask is a ghost type.
Oh, okay.
That's why. It's just their spirits living on. Eventually, Landorus managed to stop the destruction of Tornadus and Thundurus. Landorus punished them for their behavior, and surviving humans built the abundant shrine in honor of Landorus.
3,000 years ago, two twin human brothers, the heroes of truth and ideals, befriended the great dragon Pokemon, and together they rebuilt civilization in Unova, forming a great kingdom.
The heroes had a severe philosophical schism about whether truth or ideals were more important. The great dragon Pokemon, unable to pick a side, split into two different Pokemon, Reshiram and Zekrom, to represent each concept. The Great Dragon Pokemon shell crashed into a far-off part of Unova and continued to exist as a third Pokemon, Kyurem.
Alright, in the Mega Evolution timelines.
Yeah,
now.
so what happens next only happens in the Mega Evolution timelines. It's the defining difference between those and the others.
Yep. In the Kingdom of Kalos, a great civil war broke out, with both sides consisting of humans utilizing Pokemon in their armies. King AZ's personal Pokemon, Floette, was enlisted to fight. It fought and died in the war, and its body was delivered to the king.
AZ became disillusioned in the war, and he used all of his resources to create the ultimate weapon, which utilized the life powers of Xerneas and the death powers of Yveltal.
Does this appear in, like, X and Y, then?
Yes.
Okay. AZ fired the weapon, which released a huge blast that immediately sapped the life out of all the participants in the war, immediately bringing it to an end. Their life was transferred into AZ and his Floetta. It brought...
Floette.
Floette? It says Floetta.
Floette? Okay, I was really... You have to point out my typo to the audience.
Oh, okay, sorry. It brought Floette back to life as a new form of Floette, and they both became immortal.
Floette was appalled at the loss of life and left AZ for his actions. AZ became destitute and wandered the world. AZ's younger brother ruled Kalos in his place.
A blast from the ultimate weapon affected the atmosphere of the entire planet, and the excess energy spread across the world. A Lucario and a human in Kalos worked together to harness this energy and became the first to use Mega Evolution. Okay.
Okay, so that's just the Mega Evolution timelines. Now back to the whole thing. 2,500 years ago, without their leaders, the Kingdom of Unova collapsed.
2,000 years ago, the region of Hoenn was overflowing with natural energy due to many meteors that had fallen there, which attracted more meteors to fall upon Hoenn.
Kyogre and Groudon were both attracted to the energy in Hoenn, and they discovered each other. They began a fierce battle that threatened to destroy the world, and so Rayquaza descended and stopped the battle, setting Kyogre and Groudon to slumber deep underground to save the world. The draconian humans of Hoenn observed all of this and constructed the Sky Pillar in honor of Rayquaza.
The Pokémon Conkeldurr invented concrete and taught humans how to make it.
Weird.
Yeah.
1,500 years ago, humans in the region of Johto created a writing system with an alphabet based on the forms of unknown.
I wonder how they knew what unknown looked like to create that.
Oh, well, they found some unknown somehow.
Yeah, there's no explanation. Humans began to overhunt the bird Pokemon Farfetch and the shark Pokemon Sharpedo.
The Pokemon Klefki fed upon minerals in caves, but when their food became scarce, they began to hang around humans for their metal trinkets.
Alright. 1,200 years ago, Regigigas creations began to target humans who threatened the continents as humans' destructive involvement with the environment steadily increased. In response, humans began systematically imprisoning Regice, Regirock, and Registeel, and then Regigigas in tombs in various regions.
1,000 years ago, a huge meteor crashed into Hoenn in what would eventually be known as Sutopolis.
Alright, Mega Evolution timeline, again. A meteor brought accumulated energy from the ultimate weapon of long ago, and it reawoke the slumbering Kyogre and Groudon, and they even reverted to their primal forms. Once again, their battle threatened to destroy the world.
The draconian humans of Hoenn knew that Rayquaza had saved their ancestors, and so they prayed for Rayquaza to return. Rayquaza appeared and used the energy in the meteorite to turn into Mega Rayquaza and stop Primal Kyogre and Primal Groudon, returning them to slumber once more. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the main timeline. Or sorry, not just the main one, like all of them.
800 years ago, Yveltal absorbed life energy throughout Kalos before hibernating in a cocoon. Fortunately, Xerneas released life energy throughout Kalos before hibernating in a tree.
Humans from Johto and Sinnoh achieved some amount of diplomacy, each side realizing their myths only accounted for half of their narratives. They constructed the Sinjo ruins between the two regions that honored both Arceus and the Unknown.
700 years ago, in Johto, humans constructed the Bell Tower and the Brass Tower. A Lugia and a Ho perched on top of the towers and used them as homes.
500 years ago, in Sinnoh, ghosts terrorized the humans, and so the humans sealed 108 of these evil spirits away into the Odd Keystone. These spirits coalesced into a single Pokemon, which would become the first of the Spiritomb.
How does Spiritomb form if you have to do that to form one?
That's how the first one formed. It's now a species of Pokemon that can reproduce.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, so now we gotta talk about the Ultra Space timelines.
Alright, in faraway alternate universes, there were beings that were somewhat like Pokemon, but far more ruthless, called Ultra Beasts. One of these universes contained a world called Ultra Megaopolis, which is where the Ultra Beast Poipole originated.
A nomadic Ultra Beast called Necrozma would travel to different universes by opening Ultra wormholes and traveling through the Ultra Space between dimensions. It arrived in Ultra Megalopolis, but the alternate human-like beings in that world felt threatened by Necrozma and attacked it.
Necrozma had pieces of its body severed and became unable to produce light anymore, leaving it with an eternal hunger for light. It stole all of the light from this world and left to steal the light of other worlds.
The region of Alola was a series of remote islands. Oh, I forgot. We're no longer doing the Ultra timelines or Ultra Space timelines anymore. We're back to the Pokemon world. The region of Alola was a series of remote islands, each with a guardian deity Pokemon ruling over it. Tapu Koko, Tapu Lele, Tapu Bulu, and Tapu Fini fought over the entirety of Alola. While they fought, an Ultra Beast called Lunala/Solgaleo, depending on which timeline you're in, opened an Ultra Wormhole over Alola and arrived in this world.
Lunala/Solgaleo was capable of traversing ultra space at ease, but the guardian deities united to fight against it. They lost, however. Lunala/Solgaleo just asked that they watch over its young Cosmog that would one day grow to turn into Cosmoem, Lunala, and Solgaleo.
However, Necrozma arrived and possessed Lunala/Solgaleo, turning into Dusk Wings/Mane Necrozma. It then stole all of the light from Alola, but the guardian deities managed to work together to defeat it and banish it.
With that, Lunala/Solgaleo left, and the guardian deities agreed to stop their quarrels, watch over Alola, protect the access point to Ultra Space and the Cosmog, and leave humans be.
It's a big decision.
Yeah.
The humans in Alola set up their own civilization and monarchy. As a gift to the king, a scientist created the second artificial Pokemon, called the Soul Heart. It had an artificial soul, and it was encased in a body called Magearna.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, 400 years ago, Azalea Town in Johto experienced a drought, but Slowpoke managed to bring the rain back, and so the town revered Slowpoke. That's funny.
Yeah, like all these other ones have been like gods, then Slowpoke. 200 years ago, an ultra-rich family bought the island of Liberty Garden off the coast of Unova, and they hid a Victini they found in the basement.
150 years ago, the brass tower in Johto burned down in a tragic accident, prompting Lugia to flee to the Whirl Islands. A Flareon, Jolteon, and Vaporeon were inside the building when it happened, and all died. Ho used its power to resurrect the three of them and created the legendary beasts, Entei, Raikou, and Suicune.
Okay, so now we're in the Techno era. This is going to be defined by the technology when humans start taking over the planet, much like we're trying to do now.
Yep.
Okay, so by now, humans dominated most of the world and make up the people of the world. People of various regions began to form coalitions that resulted in the development of the official Pokemon League competitions.
100 years ago, the Pokemon Clink were formed from charged machinery in Chargestone Cave in Unova, making them the third artificial Pokemon, albeit accidentally.
People in Unova discovered the Pokemon Roggenrola in fissures after an earthquake.
What's a Roggenrola?
It's like a little rock guy.
Oh, like a Geodude?
But smaller and with legs.
That's weird. In 1925, Professor Westwood of Celadon University in Kanto invented the modern Pokeball.
Not long after modern Pokeballs were invented, someone secretly blasted a Pokeball with a powerful pulse of energy, giving it life, creating a new species of Pokemon called Voltorb, the fourth artificial Pokemon made by people.
Cool. 50 years ago, an alien spaceship carrying another species of alien Pokemon called Elgium, as well as Beheum, crashed into a desert in Unova. Oh, are those the guys with like neon lights on their heads or something?
Yeah, they reference Area 51, or Roswell, I mean.
Yeah, okay.
40 years ago, more meteors hit the Hoenn region, and they carried some meteoroid alien Pokemon called Lunatone. Meteoroid alien Pokemon from near the sun called Solrock appeared around the same time.
They just appeared?
Well, no one discovered it. They just started showing up.
All right. Some humans were known to develop psychic powers, but one day, an especially gifted boy was researching extrasensory powers. He awoke the next day, transforming into the first Kadabra. The Abracadabra and Alakazam species of Pokemon became highly sought after for their psychic abilities.
Yeah. 1969, people developed spacefaring technology and managed to land people on the moon of the Pokemon world.
20 years ago, scientists in the Kanto region created what they thought to be the first artificial Pokemon, but it was just the first virtual one, Porygon. It was the fifth artificial Pokemon made by people.
Dratini was considered a mythical Pokemon until one day a fisherman spent 10 hours fishing for one and found one.
Oh, wow. People continued to affect the environment, and that resulted in a considerable amount of pollution.
In Unova, a combination of garbage bags and industrial waste caused the garbage Pokemon, Trubbish and Garbodor, to be created. It was the 6th artificial Pokemon made by people.
Accidentally. One day, when sludge could be found through rivers and the seas, some alien Pokemon from the moon called Clefairy traveled to the Pokemon world, but in doing so released a significant amount of X-rays that brought the sludge to life as Grimer.
X-rays
Wow.
from the moon, man.
Wow. Okay, that has got to be one of the most interesting way to make an artificial Pokemon.
Yeah, and but it's artificial by Clefairy. Or whoever it was on the moon that sent those X-rays.
That's weird, though.
Many people from Kanto migrated to Alola and took their Pokemon with them. Over time, some of their Pokemon would grow to develop Alolan forms as they adapted to their new Icelandic environment.
The Kanto War began when the provisional government of Kanto went to war with the neighboring region, enlisting many adults, including Lieutenant Surge. The war ended without a clear conclusion.
Around this time, several organized gangs formed in different regions to take advantage over the lack of a centralized government, and they had nefarious goals. They included Team Rocket, Team Magma, Team Aqua, Team Snag'em, Team Cypher, Team Galactic, Team Plasma, Team Flare, Team Skull, and the Ether Foundation.
A group of scientists funded by Team Rocket set out on an expedition in South America, where they discovered Mew. They began cloning experiments on it to try to improve upon Mew and make a more powerful Pokemon.
The initial cloning attempts were unsuccessful and instead produced piles of goop called Ditto, the 7th artificial Pokemon made by people.
Eventually, they managed to genetically enhance and clone Mew, creating Mewtwo, the 8th artificial Pokemon made by people.
Mewtwo enacted vengeance upon the scientists and destroyed the building on Cinnabar Island before retreating to Cerulean Cave in Kanto.
Alright,
so that's a lot of the backstory now. So now, we're going to do the actual events of the games in a different episode.
Yeah, alright.
So let's just go through this really quick.
Alright, the events of Green, Red, Blue, Yellow, Fire Red, and Leaf Green occur.
The events of Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Omega Ruby, and Alpha Sapphire occurred.
The events of Colosseum occur.
The events of Gold, Silver, Crystal, Heart Gold, and Soul Silver occurred.
The events of Diamond, Pearl, Platinum occurred.
The events of XD occurred.
The events of Black, White occurred.
The events of Black 2 and White 2 occurred.
The events of Sun, Moon, Ultra Sun, and Ultra Moon occurred.
Right. And so that's going to be a bunch of complicated stuff that we will go more into detail with another Pokemon episode. This was really just to get the backstory, the timeline of how the Pokemon universe came to be.
I was really impressed by all those stories of how these artificial Pokemon came to be, because I never heard it before.
Some of them are weird.
Yeah, some of them are.
But we have a little bit of a taste for something. We don't really have to talk about this now. We could save this for the next one. But why don't we just go ahead and talk about the future?
Okay.
So the last era is the Ruin era. In the future, something terrible occurred, bringing some amount of the world to ruin, as predicted by the foreseeing Xatu Pokemon.
And Celebi traveled ahead to the future and noticed a severe lack of nature in green forests. They time traveled to peaceful time periods to enhance forests in the hopes of preventing this future.
Okay. And that's basically everything. Everything except for what we tabled for next time.
Yeah, the events of the games.
So, Kira, since we have this time, I'd like you to take this opportunity to ask any questions. Because like I said, I tried to back these up with facts. So is there anything that just seemed weird or stood out to you? And I could tell you what my reasoning was when I wrote it down?
That war Lieutenant Surge was in, what was your basis for that? Because as far as I know, the only thing that supports that is Lieutenant Surge specifically says that electric Pokemon saved his life in the war.
Right. I mean, it's a big thing called the Kanto War Theory, or the Pokemon War Theory. It's a big thing on the internet. I didn't want to really go too into detail with it because it's a lot of theory, but we know for a fact that he was in a war, and we know that there are a severe lack of non-children, non-adult or elderly people in the Pokemon world, or at least in Kanto at that time.
Yeah, because all the young adults seem to be gym leaders mostly.
Yeah, and your father's gone. So, I mean, it's a theory, but we know that the war at least happened because Surge mentions it.
I support the theory, honestly.
Yeah, some theories say that they were warring with Johto, but all we know is it was just some region.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Really cool, though. Is that like literally all the artificial Pokemon origin stories?
No, because there's some that haven't happened yet. There are going to be some that happened actually during the events of the games.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
So we've yet to see the origin for Genesect, Cast Form, Type Null.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure I'm forgetting some other miscellaneous ones.
Are you sure that happens during the games?
Between them.
Oh, I see. I see what you mean.
Exactly.
Fair enough. That's really cool, though. Like, I never thought I'd get to learn about what happened, like how they were created, because a lot of this stuff is just weird.
Yeah. I have a theory that Team Plasma, I don't know, I'll have to research this. Maybe I think Team Plasma reinvented Mewtwo or took the blueprints or something, and that's why you're able to find other Mewtwo in other games. Unless it could be the same Mewtwo and just in alternate universes they weren't captured. That could be it.
That sounds complicated.
Yes. That's one thing I kind of liked about Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, besides the fact that it was a terrible cash grab. But I really liked how you can go to like the alternate universes. That's how you catch legendary and shiny Pokemon. And the Ultra Beasts.
It was really cool, yeah.
There's even a few like sort of humans that you can meet. I thought that was cool. I just like the whole like if you're gonna do alternate universes, give us something cool. That's what the Ultra Beasts are.
Yeah, that is really cool, actually.
You know, the Ultra Beasts are supposed to symbolize like an invasive species. Like they're not from this universe, or at least not even these sets of universe. They're from something completely alien. It'd be like if just Bowser showed up or something.
Bowser's cool though. Evil, but he's pretty cool.
And by the way, like they say that Cosmog, Solgaleo, Lunala, Cosmoem, and Necrozma are reminiscent of Ultra Beasts. They're Ultra Beasts. Okay, like that's what they are. And the only reason they don't outright say it is because they're the mascots of the game, and the people of Alola know them. Like they may be rare and mysterious and whatnot, but they revere them. Therefore, they don't want to call it alien because it's familiar to them, even though really they had the same origin, or at least, I mean. Really, all you have to be considered an Ultra Beast is not from here.
Yeah.
or at least, or not from here, nor an alternate version of here. If you're a certain type of, quotation marks, Pokemon, but you originated from a different world and you can't be found in any of the Pokemon universes, then you're an Ultra Beast.
I think it's pretty cool though. They had some pretty unique typings and really cool designs for them.
Yeah, and I really like how the Ultra Beasts really kind of make the definition of what a Pokemon is a bit vague.
Yeah, that's true.
Do they have their own Arceus?
I don't know.
What you probably can say is that the universe or the Ultra Space timelines that Solgaleo, Lunala, Necrozma, Solgaleo and Lunala, because they're part of the same evolutionary tree with Cosmog, right? They probably came from a different world than the one that Necrozma came from, which was a different world than the one that the Ultra Beasts come from.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right.
Or sets of worlds. Again, you have to keep in mind, it's infinite. There's always alternate versions of these worlds.
Yeah. I like Lunala.
It's cool.
Yes.
Apparently female only.
I liked Lunala better because Solgaleo was just a lion.
Yeah.
That was kind of disappointing, honestly, because they already have so many lion Pokemon.
I wish we could see the original version of Claydol, like it's like a legendary or something.
Oh, yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Oh, I forgot to mention Deoxys hasn't arrived yet.
Oh, yeah.
Which is known as like the alien Pokemon, but not the alien Pokemon. Like when you think of alien Pokemon, it's Deoxys. Now, when we're referring to the alien Pokemon, we're referring to the original Claydol. I know it's confusing. I'm sorry. There's over like 800 species of them.
Yeah.
What do you think about the whole thing with Arceus?
I think that was a really cool origin story, honestly. Like, I liked hearing about that and having it put together because no one really tells you how this world came about. And there are theories and stuff, but it's not, like, spelled out in the Pokemon
You'll get, like, individual myths that are, like, a few lines long, and then they just don't interact with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, for example, with Arceus, That's in the distant past. And then you have Mew eventually, right? Mm-hmm. I figured Arceus is a god, so that trumps common ancestor, but the god could just make the common ancestor out of itself. Mm-hmm. So that's how that logic came around.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you. But also, some people might have questioned how I had the whole thing of like Mew, the new Mews, the legends, and then the fossils, and etc. But I did that because Mew is explicitly said to be the ancestor of all Pokemon. So we had to do kind of like a narrative cheat for the god ones at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
But other than that, like everything has to come from Mew, right? Mm-hmm. And we have seen times where legendary Pokemon do reproduce. Well, we don't actually see them do it. We just see that children appeared, and it's like, how?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
So apparently they can reproduce somehow.
Also, apparently some of those fossil Pokemon are living underground for like hundreds of thousands of years in, what was it, the beginning tree?
It's actually several episodes of the anime.
Oh,
multiple.
Okay.
So that would be in the anime timelines, which happen a bit differently than the main ones.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's ever been a location in the main ones where that happened. It's possible, but I don't recall.
Yeah, but that's just like the perfect example of how the anime timelines just throw all continuity and lore and crap out the window.
Well, the main character from those timelines, Ash, he sees a Ho-Oh at the beginning. So there's a theory that the reason that, he like just, I'm a little kid that runs into every single legendary out there. It's because he was like blessed by Ho-Oh, which is supposed to grant luck.
Well, that's a good theory, I suppose, but...
Oh, what do you think about the humans evolving from Pokemon theory?
Oh, I think that's really good. Isn't that supported by the games?
Yes, actually, because there is a myth that says that humans and Pokemon once ate at the same table and once married.
Yes, exactly.
And then over time, they didn't anymore.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that happening. If Mew's the common ancestor, then who's to say we didn't come from that?
Exactly. Some people might think that humans, they're so different from Pokemon. Maybe they came from a different world, or they weren't made by Arceus, or they're separate in some way. In which case, I would just ask, well, how did those humans come around?
Yeah,
exactly. In that other world.
Yeah, exactly. And Pokemon are sentient and have emotions and stuff. They're really not that different, especially some of the more intelligent ones.
Oh, yeah, it really kind of makes you question why humans are the dominant ones.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's just how things end up working out, but it doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
That thing with Kadabra was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was really dumb, honestly.
Just Kadabra and Alakazam and Abra, they all exist just because some boy got super psychic. I mean, we know that we're psychic humans. The anime is rife with them, but there's even some in the games. Mm-hmm. But yeah, one turned into a Kadabra.
That's really weird, honestly.
And apparently, when was that? Was that 40 years ago or something? Hold on, let me check.
I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was 40 years ago at maximum. So that means within the span of 40 years, by the beginning of the first Pokemon games, that boy turned Kadabra managed to reproduce enough to create a viable species.
Yeah, I guess so.
They were pretty rare for what it was worth, but still.
Yeah.
Especially Abra. Abra were so hard to catch.
Mm-hmm. I managed to catch one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've played together.
And here's a little thing. This is a spoiler for the anime, but it's revealed later on in the anime at a certain time when they go back in time that they, when the main heroes were back in time, they called these creatures Pokemon. And the humans of the past were like, oh, that's a good name. We should use that.
Oh, wow.
They just called them magical creatures before that point.
Wow.
I didn't put that in the timeline because that's anime exclusive.
Yeah, that's really weird, though.
But I really liked that added backstory to it. Mm-hmm. Okay, any other questions? Come on, we only got a few minutes left here. Come on, Kira, give me some good questions. Because I know the audience is going to have some, how did you get to these points and whatnot. So while we have the time, I would just like to be
able to... but I know how you got to those points.
Well, even if you already know, maybe ask just an interesting question. Oh, the Ditto theory.
Oh, yeah. How did you come up with that?
Well, I didn't come up with it. It's a popular theory online, but it makes so much sense. Uh-huh. That Ditto was a failed clone of Mew. Mm-hmm. They're the only two Pokemon that can learn the move Transform.
Oh, I see.
They're both pink. Mm-hmm. Both of their shiny forms are blue. By the way, if you guys don't know, shiny forms are just like a very rare mutant color aberration. Is that the word?
I don't know.
It's no normal color mutation. And so yeah, those are similarities they have. But in addition to this, in the first game, the only place where Mew could be found was the very lab. Where Ditto could be found was the very lab in which Mew was cloned.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
the very area.
So that really makes sense, actually.
Yeah, I think so.
I like that.
And then you could find Ditto elsewhere later. So whatever. Well, they could have spread out, you know.
Oh, what is your favorite Pokemon? What are your favorites?
It's really hard to choose. Can I pick a top 3?
Okay, pick top 3.
Ditto,
Yes.
Smeargle, and Groudon.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I like how Ditto can turn into anything. I like how Smeargle can use any move. And I like Groudon because it's awesome.
Can I pick
Yeah.
3?
What are your 3?
I'm gonna pick Greninja, Leafeon, and Alolan Raichu, because those are my babies.
You picked all ones that you actually raised yourself.
Yes, of course.
See, me, I identified that I liked Ditto, Smeargle, and Groudon, so I sought them out. I still in the latest game I have Pokemon Moon, right?
Yes, you got Moon. I got Sun.
Right. Yeah, we didn't buy Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon because again, those were a ripoff. 4 versions of the same game. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So I got the same Groudon that I have had from the original Pokemon Ruby.
Oh, really?
Yes. In fact, its name is Maxie because that's what I named it as a kid. And back in the old games, all the names were in capital. They were all in uppercase.
Yeah.
And the reason they did that was like, oh, this name is important.
Yeah.
So when you nicknamed your Pokemon, oftentimes you would be prompted to do the same. You'd actually have to press an extra button if you wanted the lowercase.
Yeah.
So it worked fine in the standard of the games. Modern Pokemon games don't have that anymore. They don't just capitalize words that are important. They'll just uppercase the first letter. You know, just like in normal English, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So now I have like all my main Pokemon team, right? But when I send out Groudon, its entire name is all caps. Go Maxie!
That's really funny, actually.
And then I found Smeargle, and I loved teaching it like these crazy moves. And then Ditto. Well, Ditto was originally useless, right?
Yeah.
But then they came out with a new ability for Ditto called Imposter, where you don't have to waste a turn to transform. It will transform immediately upon being sent out.
Oh, I see.
And that Ditto is still a part of my main competitive team. I mean, for a while, people put it as like Uber in some competitions, simply because it was new. They didn't like it. They had to rethink their strategies. But over time, counters came out, and now it's not even considered really that competitive. But come on, I mean, send out a dragon, I will kill you first. Because dragon's good on dragon, for those of you who don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So yeah, I think we've talked about Pokemon enough. I'd really like to revisit this and talk about the actual events of the games themselves. And I think it would be really cool if we actually went and broke down some of Pokemon individually.
Yeah.
Utilizing their Pokédex entries specifically, because that's where a lot of this information comes from. And it's a lot cooler, more interesting, and doesn't really hold your hand like a child, like I feel some of the game, or some of the anime stuff especially does.
Yeah, and honestly, some of the anime stuff is just ridiculous as far as continuity and
I mean, some of the Pokédex stuff is ridiculous too, but in a very deadly and killy way.
Yeah.
So which makes it kind of fun.
Yes.
So, okay, that's our Pokemon episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact us at gametheorems@gmail.com. We got social media out the wazoo. Bye.
Bye.